Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Multifamily Chronicles, and I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Today, we are recording episode number 37. My guest today is Irving Lopez Gallarza. Welcome to the show, Irving.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. You've had numerous phenomenal guests that I personally follow in our industry, so I'm definitely excited to be here.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. And I wanted to say in introduction that, Irving, that your position in the industry currently is community director with Center Space, right?
Yes, I'm a community director with Center Space, manage one of their newest assets here in the region, and they are a phenomenal company. I absolutely have loved my short time being with them, so I'm super excited to be with them now.
Let's start by telling a little bit about your background, telling the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a multifamily guru in the multifamily space for about the last 10 years. I literally joined multifamily right out of high school, so it's all I know how to do. But overall, I grew up in Colorado Springs, so I've been in Colorado my whole life. I'm originally from Mexico. One of the things that you and I share in common is that when we came to the US, we didn't know English, so we had to learn, how to speak English. And, back when you and I had a conversation a couple of months ago, we could only order number one, and that was food. So definitely no. Definitely love to be here. I'm an advocate for our industry and just in general, love what I do.
Tell us a little bit about some great things that are happening with your company at Center Space.
Yeah, I mean, Centerspace is a thriving new company. I love them. They have properties anywhere from here to the Denver to Minneapolis. Honestly, I'm learning, so I will probably report more things in the future, but I'm excited for their growth. We're going to be looking at other markets within the Western Slope. So I'm definitely excited. They're a big believer in technology, sustainability, and just providing the utmost, customer experience. I'm a big believer of resident experience. So I think that was the biggest attraction to me, that they're big into their resident, experience. We all have apartments, but it's how you treat your people at the end of the day.
Well, absolutely. It all comes down to that, right? And it goes around and still comes down to people. It's people, people, people,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Absolutely. How I see it, it's they provide quality living and they provide a good work-life balance. So I'm happy.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Irving, I wanted to ask you a little bit about a project of yours
Yes.
that I know you're very passionate about, and this is the Coffee Talk Thursdays.
Yep.
Could you share a little bit with us about your guests and about the topics that
Yeah.
you're basically bringing on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I produced Coffee Talk Thursdays, my biggest, concept behind the idea was, I want somewhere where it's a safe space for anybody in our industry, you know, leasing consultant to property manager to the vendor on site to a new vendor coming to the multifamily space, just anybody multifamily to come and share their knowledge, their experience. And I think my big reasoning behind it is to share the knowledge. That's my biggest hashtag, share the knowledge. Because I feel like, you might have a question that another vendor might have. And, if I can be a stream of knowledge and education to everybody in our space, why not? Let's do it. And my show is very like unscripted. It's more of a conversation. It's sure about shared experiences. I've had the famous Stephanie Anderson, which congratulations to her. She just became a mom again. With Grace. And then I've had Mike Wolver with Rent Dynamics as well, just to name a few. I definitely love to just I feel like when I ask, when I generate like the questions or the conversations that I'm asking some of our guests, it's really authentic questions that, inspires our incoming professional to be, to stick around our industry, first of all, and to just overall, you know, share what they might be thinking inside that they are maybe too scared to ask, because they might have those questions too.
Yeah, no, sharing knowledge is very powerful. Sharing knowledge and sharing wisdom. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
We love to hear more.
Correct. And now that
More of
things have
that.
settled down, I'm ready to kick it back up. I was really busy for the last 2, 3 months, so I kind of took some time off from coffee talks, but I'm excited. I definitely have some people in the works right now that, they are kind of they're a wealth of knowledge themselves, so we're excited to have it. So stay tuned, everybody. Of
Definitely. I'll be on the lookout for the new episodes.
course.
You mentioned earlier people, right? People is a subject, and it's a word that I'm very passionate about. People and culture. Now, what are the people? Great Resignation, or Great Reshuffle, or the Great Awakening. There's several names out there for what's happening with the labor shortages and especially in our industry. I think our industry is
Absolutely.
especially affected by the labor shortages. So with that being said, I wanted to ask you, get your take on, Great Resignation. How did we get here? And then where are we going from here? Do you think that this is just the beginning of a phenomenon? Are we towards the end of it, and things are going back to the previous normals? What's your take on the whole phenomenon?
I love this question because I've been through it as well. I'll be honest with you, Adrian. I think, and I think this started off with the kind of the, when we went through COVID and kind of getting back to the groove of things of COVID. I think a lot of the Great Resignation kicked off when we had to rethink about how are people working, are working from home. Through COVID, we learned that a lot of people could do their jobs at home. So I think the big Great Resignation comes from people have learned their worth, people have learned their value, we no longer can expect employees to work hours on end without making sure that we promote as an employer, as a company, a healthy work-life balance, that we adequately pay all our employees fair wages. And at the end of the day, that we make benefits, we make perks, we make it exciting to come to work. Tying it back to our multifamily space is, people love being appreciated. We are in the people business, and that's my biggest thing that I learned many, many years ago. We're in the people business, and how I see it is, it's come to the point to where you no longer are, posting that we're the best. Now you have to talk and walk that you're the best company. Now you actually have to show up and say, this is what we're doing for our associates. Some of our top multifamily companies, you know, like for example, I personally am a big fan of asset living. They've grown so much within the last, year and a half, but they themselves have a brand that they sell to their employees, to their associates and everything like that. And I love it. They're always engaging, they're giving recognition. So overall, the Great Resignation, I think we're living through it right now. I don't think it's going anywhere soon. But it's definitely an opportunity for all of us to rethink, revamp, and ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from your teams, from your peers. Hey, what are you guys doing that's working? We're all in this together. And at the end of the day, it's about how we're going to restructure and rethink this new way of work-life balance and pretty much overall, how are we going to promote our people to be successful? Does that make sense?
Uh, I want to pick up on something that you say, ask around and hey, what do you guys do? I also go a step further, and I think that we should actually ask our employees
Yeah.
what they expect.
Asking for feedback. Ask for feedback. What do they see? What do they see? What's important to them? I've learned across the years that no two, three, four leasing consultants are the same. People are motivated by different things. People are motivated by, recognition. People are motivated for career growth. People, we all like money. Some people are motivated by money. Some people are, just overall, I think everybody's motivated differently. And I think it's really as managers and company leadership, we should definitely be asking our teams, what do you guys what's going to engage you and what do they pretty much respond to? That's the biggest question. What are you responding to and what's working for you?
I think this is right now we're looking at the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. Golden rule is that you gotta treat everybody like you want to be treated.
Correct.
The platinum rule is actually treat people like they want to be treated.
Correct.
Uh, I think there's way more value into the platinum rule. Why? Because not everybody wants to be treated like you want to be treated.
Yep.
Uh, like just like you said earlier, like people resonate to different things. For some is a pat on the back. For some
But
is
it's so funny. We can tie it back to like our residents. We all have apartments, but we're all different companies and we all excel the resident experience differently. So why don't we provide that to the associate experience now? So it's going to be interesting, Adrian, to really dig down and get deep into the weeds to see how our company is going to revamp their associate experience. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm excited for it.
yeah, we're living very exciting times because this is when the opportunities are arriving for
Correct.
all of us,
Correct.
both employers and employees, and we make the best of the situation, the current situation.
Correct.
I don't think that in a history we had as many as opportunities as we have in today's time.
Everyone's
And,
hiring.
and all this, all this big movement, right, with people trying to find, to find their ideal job, the best job, just something where they feel fulfilled, appreciated.
Invalid.
I think it's actually positive. I don't think there's any positive into someone staying with a company for, let's say, 3 years or 5 years, just because if they don't, the rest of us will look at a person and judge and say, well, they're a job hopper. I'm a firm believer that if it's not for you, decide early in a game is not for you.
And you are the person, I mean, you as an individual, your blood, sweat, and tears, your hard work. And I think how I see it, and I've been in the situations to where do not even, and it might be a millennial thing of me saying, but is this person me worth this? Does that make sense? Is it worth it? That's the biggest thing now. Is it worth it? And like I know it's about like I've been in the shoe of like, we'll stick with it and blah 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 blah. But it's like, yeah, it's like if we stick with it though, but then if and like later on nothing changes. I said, so you don't want to waste your time somewhere where you don't see yourself long term. And I think that the biggest thing is like, and who knows, long term can change from there could be an opportunity. I've had opportunities to where like, do you want to move? And I'm like, well, I'm in a lease agreement right now, but I would love to move, to like a different state, to do different other things. Like people, it's so cool right now to be able to just get up and go and do things that, back in the days you had to wait in line for so and so, so manager to get promoted to, now it's like people are offering and there's so many new companies coming out. There's so many new management companies coming out, and they need top talent. But overall, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens in the future. And I think you and I will probably reconnect here in the future regarding this topic.
Of course, I would love to. My next question, Irving, is you mentioned earlier that you started in the industry right out of high school, right? Very early, at a very early age. And you've been around for about 10 years, so that kind of
Yep.
gives away your age. Now, I wanted to ask you, what piece of advice would you have for someone young, very young, that's right out of a school? They're ready to take their first, full-time job, their first career, to start their first career. Uh, what piece of advice would you have for them? What would you advise them?
Run away. No, I would honestly, Adrian, I would say, come on down. We would love to have you. I honestly, I'm the type of manager that I give opportunities because at the end of the day, somebody had to believe in me. And I love to give opportunity, give credit where it's due. And at the end of the day, we have a lot of fun. And our pretty much, I literally when I was thinking of this question, I was like, it takes a lot for us that are seasoned, in this industry. But I feel like we as seasoned, um, you know, people in the industry, we need to be able to show our incoming associates, our people that are interested in our industry, how fun, how rewarding, how it's a lot of hard work, yes, but at the end of the day, it'll take care of you. This industry takes care of you, and you don't need a degree. You know, that's the biggest thing I always tell everybody. I literally, I have a brother, so I'm the oldest of four and my brother is 18. And I was like, hey, I was like, what are you doing with your life? He didn't go to college because he didn't want to. And I said, okay, that's perfectly fine. I said, did you want to get into our industry? I said, I'll have one of my friends, maybe start you out as a groundskeeper, 18-year-old. And I think it's more of like, it's okay to not, do the typical college career path, whatever. Because at the end of the day, this is our industry is a truly undiscovered industry. And I think that in the coming years, we are going to see a lot of our industry pulling from like different sources. I see people like they go to the colleges. I see, but I feel like a lot of the high schools too. I feel like I've partnered back in my earlier years. I'm bilingual by nature, of course. I partner with kind of, I think, junior achievement or something like that, And we would go into the high schools and we would show the students what does it take to lease an apartment? What's an application? What's your credit? Like you have to your credit. What is that? You're 18. Do you even know what credit is? Stuff like that. So I think is we're gonna have to re-educate our current associates to be advocates for our industry. And honestly, the biggest piece of advice is that word of mouth referrals are going to play huge, especially in this great resignation, the shortage of employees that we have. That is the biggest, and it's free. You know that that we can spend a lot of time on.
You mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned referrals, and you also mentioned the fact that it doesn't cost you a dime to start at the very bottom. You just have to, show up and be willing to do what it takes, and work your way up. It's a more personal experience for me. I came to US when I was 28. I never done this type of work before, maintenance in
Yep.
apartments or maintenance period. I started as a groundskeeper, just kind of work my way up from there, and it cost me zero to actually
Yeah, I
get.
started as a leasing consultant and I've been an assistant manager. I've been a property manager. I've been a senior community manager, community director. So honestly, it's stick with it, guys. Stick with it. This industry will take care of you. And honestly, tell a friend, tell two friends. I challenge people to do that. Tell a friend, tell two friends, our current associates, tell them, get them involved, get them engaged. And I know that there's other questions that you've asked, and I'm going to tie it back to this one because it's really truly our industry has to learn how to be an advocate for itself.
So you mentioned about a few ways to to attract talent into the industry. Now, people get into the industry, right, and they get exposed to company culture, different companies, different cultures. How important is company culture in general? How important is it to you? And what are the things that matter to you when it comes to company culture?
Let's be honest. Every company is we are the best. We are the best. We are the best. And we hear that day in, day out. But honestly, like I mentioned before, it truly is taking employers to, talk the talk and walk the walk. And I think that my biggest thing that I've always asked is just be transparent with me. Just tell me like it is. Of course, you know, HR permitting and legalities, whatever. But you know what I mean. Just be transparent. People want to know where they're headed, especially the new driving force coming into our industry, the millennials and then the generation after the millennials. I've had I've had a leasing consultants that have told me, well, I want to be the regional tomorrow. And I said, well, that takes time, sir. I said, but these are the steps, and this is the career path, and this is the education that our company is willing to show you and put value into you so you can in the future be an assistant manager, be a property manager. And you know what? One of the biggest things that I really enjoyed about Center Space currently is that on my not even my week one, they pretty much have a video where everybody introduces themselves. VP of marketing, VP of asset management, stuff like that. And it inspires our new, fresh in the industry leasing consultant. I want to be a VP of marketing, showing people that the normal leasing consultant, assistant manager, property manager, regional kind of career path, it doesn't have to be that way. I personally, I would love to be a regional here in the very near future, but at the same time, business development intrigues me. I want to be able to go and say, this is why we're the best management company, and this is why you should hire us. I want to share my energy with. So we all have different ambitions, and there's so many pathways of our industry that you can fall into, that you can explore. And I think that right now is a market or kind of an idea that really is not explored yet. I don't think that I haven't seen any company like really do a really good job saying you're a leasing consultant, but this is where you can go, or this is what you can pursue, and this is how. So I'm excited, and I really encourage everybody to kind of excite your associates to want to explore other pathways of our industry. And I think that right there will pay off in itself.
Great advice. Next, I wanted to ask you about pay. As you probably know, because we're connected on LinkedIn, I do poll a lot. I do sometimes 2 or 3 polls a week because I do want to know what people desire, like what's important to them. And when it comes to benefits and what companies can do better, pay always by far trumps any other answer. So pay is kind of the hottest topic, the most important thing that companies should be addressing. This is coming from employees or potential employees, from candidates. So I want to ask you this, what, and I don't need a specific number because numbers vary based on asset type,
markets and
on a size of the market, on many, many, many other things. But I do want to ask you, what's the appropriate pay? What's the right pay? How do you determine, like, what are some good ways to determine the right pay for any position in an industry?
Absolutely. So my biggest thing when I was reading this question, I said, honestly, pay, I will say this, we all have homes, we all have families, we all have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's where we're promoting that work-life balance. But, to how I see it and how I've seen it done before is you engage like NAA. NAA has like a pay report that they gather a lot of data and such forth. Um, Apartment Association of Metro Denver also kind of compiles all this data. And then at the end of the day, you as a position of leadership should truly be an advocate for your employees and set those appropriate ranges, and then ask within the market, like, that I started as a property manager getting paid $8 an hour, so I honestly stay in the know, ask around, and also take in consideration, pay is something that we negotiate, but what if we negotiate other things? Higher bonuses, incentives, vacation rates, what if somebody accrues at a higher rate for vacation? Clothing allowances, cell phone allowances. Everybody likes to talk. Right now, rent is so expensive. There's a lot of companies that, offer the typical 20%, up to a free apartment, depending on your position or whatsoever. So I think that all those should go into, and then perks, corporate perks. I've seen corporate perks pick up in a tremendous amount. The gym memberships and all those should be already, but what else are you doing for your employees? So overall, you are putting together a, a comprehensive package of this is what our company is willing to do for you. So those would be my methodology. I can't say it today. That would be my knowledge based on that. I would ask around, get information from your local association so you can attribute to your local market, and then look at the national pay scale. And then it also starts with you as being an advocate for your associates and say, this is, our associates deserve this. We all want to pay top dollar, but I know that we have to, approval from ownership groups, we are third party, we, stuff like that. But I think this is something that's impacting everybody. And I think that it's okay to ask if you are not in the know, and all you can do is make it better. And I think that that's what it comes down to. You can only make it better. And listen from your teams, you know, listen from your teams. What is, if you have an associate, that's been with you for a long time, you know, I what do you need from us? What's important to you? Is it pay? Is it vacation? Is it more, work-life balance? Is it, I've had people like, I think there's some companies out there trying 4-day work weeks. And I'm like, hey, people are off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever it is, don't be scared to not try it. Do it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then we've all learned a lesson, you know?
It's great to do your homework, to ask around, to find out what everybody else in the industry does. But I'm a firm believer in the fact that we're losing talent to other industries because people have transferable skills, and there are industries that are paying better than we do. We have to be honest and admit that. And my piece of advice is that, yeah, look within, but look everywhere around you. Everybody that's in your submarket is competing with you. It's your competitor, regardless of the industry. I've learned by doing research that a maintenance tech could make about the same money, if not sometimes more, as stocking shelves at Costco. They don't have to be outside in the elements. They don't have to be in a it's controlled environment. They don't have to be on call. And then it begs the question, how do we retain this type of individual professional if they could have the same or better with less stress at Costco, stocking up the shelves in a controlled environment?
And I
So
think that goes along with, for example, and I'm kind of jumping to your, the burnout, the question that's coming, because I also made a really good note on that. I'm a big believer if we can third party, vendor, anything. When some of my associates, I always ask, what do you need from me? How can I make your life easier? Because I feel like there is so much pressure on our on-site teams now, or just in general, so much pressure from everywhere that if we can remove some of that workload or that burden on the employee and get them to focus on other things, for example, one of the cool things that I recently found out is our current company, we don't pay our invoices on site. There's somebody that does all our invoicing payments. And I'm like, what? That just mind blown me. I was like, that is super cool. Like, you know how much time it's gonna save me to focus on other things. So I think that it goes in line with a lot of the different metrics and KPIs that we're putting on our teams, but how can we make their work lives more efficient? Does that make sense? And maybe that's a start, that's a conversation that needs to happen. How do we unload a lot of the burden on our teams by third partying, or by cutting, putting it somewhere else or doing something. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box, but in general, that's also one thing that I'm very passionate about is making the workload less for our teams.
definitely, those are some great ways that you mentioned. There's some great ways to remove some of the workload and also help prevent burnout, right? Because
Exactly.
one of the main causes for burnout is very well known is too much work. It's too
Exactly.
much work, and people get overworked and they're giving up on us for sure.
And like for the burnout, like, burnout, how do we prevent it? Honestly, I'm the type of manager that if I see somebody and they've had a long day and if they just need to take a moment, I said, do you need to take a moment or do you need to go home for the day? I'll stay here till 6 and close the office, whatever, do whatever you need to do. Because at the end of the day, we're all people. We have emotions. There's things that go on at home that, we all are going through life. And I think at the end of the day, it's people deal with things differently. And we're all personality. We all have different personalities. We all have different work ethics. We're all different. But at the end of the day, it's about being flexible, being compassionate, and truly just caring and listening. Just listen. What are your teams or what do they need from you? And that can vary day to day, honestly. So I think for preventing burnout is, third party, maybe like I'm a big believer if I can third party my snow removal here in Denver, let's do it. My guys will love me. I'm like, and it's in lieu of, okay, if I third party the snow removal, then, we got to paint units in-house or, to offset costs and everything like that. So it's kind of a give and take, you know what I mean? But I think as a team, we're all willing to compromise and hopefully work together to make it better for everybody.
Irving, I want to get your thoughts on training. Uh, what the best type of training looks like in 2022?
One of my good friends, Eric Franco, is a trainer. And I actually picked his brain and I said, what are some of the biggest things that for training? And he said, it's so funny. He said, my trainings that used to be about an hour long are now sent via TikTok. And, there goes me, technology. We are all our industry. I feel like our industry was the last industry to discover technology, and there's so many new apps, CRMs, Media Lease, and all these AI bots that we have now that go back to making the workload less on our teams. Being an advocate for those. For example, there's a lot of bots out there that do the instant follow-up for our teams. Back then I used to sit there and have to, type out thousands of emails every day to say, hey, you're looking for an apartment or copy and paste. No, now we have bots that are smart and they pick up the questions that the resident is trying to ask or the prospect, and then they send out a response. So overall, training has definitely changed. I think it's no longer here's the book, read it, and here's the video. I think it's more of engaging, taking the employee off site. I hate when you train an employee at their property because then they feel like they have to work, and and then one of the biggest things too, Adrian, that I've recently discovered is that when we onboard somebody as a company, I've had companies to where 2 weeks, they literally have the employee at like their corporate office or like a sister site, and they do all their training with that person. So when they actually come to their property or their corporate position, wherever it might be, they're ready to go. You know what I mean? And they're not being pulled left and right. You know, so long story short, I think it's about learning what works for you, the type of position, but at the end of the day, get people involved, interested. And then I also did say, enjoy and become involved in your local apartment association. They have a lot of trainings that are sometimes free because of your membership. Maintenance guys. You know what I mean? There's so many for AMD has a lot of like HVAC and how to work with these new aquatherm systems. And this goes back into attracting that or that new talent to our industry. They might not come with all the skill sets. Your maintenance supervisor might not have the time to literally show them everything. So it's okay. They can go to this training, get what they need to get from out of it, and then they can come back and apply what they learned. You know what I mean? So I think we need to kind of mold a little bit of everything in this new training module that many companies are approaching. You know.
Irving, a few rapid fire questions. Ready?
Sure.
Okay. So tell me about a situation where a failure or an apparent failure of yours turned out to future success.
I've been in this industry for a while, and I've had many failures, and but I've had some great successes too. But honestly, Adrian, and when I was looking at this question, I really thought to myself, it's not about how you failed, it's about how you picked yourself back up and what you learned. I, in my industry, I feel like I've always been an underdog. And I think, but you know what? I love proving an underdog. And I am a big believer of the underdogs. I'm a hoorah for the underdogs. And you show them. And how I see it, it's work hard until your hard work speaks for itself, you know? And I think that to me, that I won't go into any details, but overall, it's how you pick yourself back up and what you learned. And what you learned not only from your failures, but also from your successes. Okay, these are the steps that I took to get to this success moment. How can I even be better? How can I revamp this to in the future continue to have those successes? So overall, that would be my way of answering this, because I'm like, it's how you pick yourself back up and keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. We all have bumps in the road. It's about how you pick yourself back
Very well said.
up.
Books. What type of books you like to read? Fiction, nonfiction, professional books?
So everybody that knows me is I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. So I love Harry Potter, but overall, that's because I just grew up with Harry Potter. I think I was like 11, 12, and he was 11, 13 when the book grew up, and I'm still a big Harry Potter nerd. But overall, one of the I do a lot of audiobooks. I tend to usually have a commute, so I usually try to play in an audiobook. And right now, I'm actually listening to You Are a Badass. and how to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life by Jen Cisneros. And she talks about so many different impacts of like your life that you have, but it's truly what this book has taught me. And I think it's funny that I'm sharing, but it's just taught me how be yourself and be your own advocate. And I think that when you are your own advocate, we all are a brand. You're a brand, I'm a brand, everybody's a brand. It's how you sell yourself and what you're willing to put up with. And I think that in general, it's a good book. I recommend everybody to read it because you will laugh at some of the things she has to say that you really don't think about on a day to day. And then you're like, oh my God, that is true. So it's definitely a pretty good, interesting book. I'm a big believer of like the five dysfunctions of a team. I love personal growth, leadership, but definitely personal growth. I think because you are a plant, you never stop growing, and you should never stop growing. So I think overall, I always like to read books that are about growth and experiences that are pretty much, coming from somebody that's been successful, and then make my own definition of success.
Thank you for the shares. Great shares.
Of course.
Next question. In the last 3 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Well, I became an avid coffee drinker. So, no, that's a really bad habit. No, but honestly, I've started to do a lot of self-care. I used to never get pedicures. Who would have thought that was very relaxing? I get pedicures and I actually get once a month, I'm part of this massage kind of like membership. So I get a full body massage every once a month. Then that's a treat to me to unwind, and I take myself out to dinner. And one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last few years, and this is maybe maturity or whatever you want to call it, it's okay to do things on your own. You don't always have to have your friends there. You don't always have to invite somebody. It's okay to take yourself out to dinner. It's okay to go to the bookstore and pick up a book and just sit there and, people watch or whatever you want to do, whatever entails you. But I think more than ever, and I think this is a really good topic, is mental health is one of the biggest things that right now that I'm actually following Lori Snyder really close to this because I think mental health is one of the biggest things that our industry is going to have to learn, evaluate. How are we going to address this? And people, we need to take care of ourselves. We potentially can live very stressful lives, and we need to do some self-care. And it's not all about eating healthy and going to the gym and whatsoever. It's about what are you truly doing to unwind on the day. It's okay to leave early. It's okay to do things that are not your normal day to day to take care of you because we need you to be a better we at the end of the day.
Very well said. If you're not going to take care of yourself, how can you take care of others? Especially when, it's family, it's your work peers. You have to be there for them.
Yeah, if you can't love yourself, how is somebody else gonna love you? So
Next question.
yeah,
When you lose focus or you feel overwhelmed, what helps you getting back on track?
honestly, I'm a big I don't like being in my office, and I've worked at offices where I've had like my main like manager office that I have had windows and I have not had windows. So I honestly like to go walk my property when at the moment I feel like I'm not being productive or like I'm just kind of in a blank moment. I like to get up, I like to walk around, I like to, kind of just get out, go to outside, get some fresh air. That's my immediate like I've lost track, I don't know what I'm doing, or I need a break. But you know what? Recently is I've started watching a lot of like funny movies and like comedy because I feel like I'm a very like big humorous person just in general. So to me, I'm a big social butterfly anyways. So I like to always I people would say I'm a big I like to go out to like Denver is known for like we have a lot of like you know what is it called breweries and stuff like that. But I like to sit out by the sun and enjoy like a good beer with if it's with friends, great. If it's not, if it's just me reading at a brewery outside on the patio. So I'm a big patio foodie. So I love to get out and enjoy the patio, the food, and just kind of suck in all that what's around me, and enjoy the sun. So that's how I do it when I feel like I'm losing focus in the big picture. Um, and then I always say this, it's how we prioritize. And you know what? It's okay to shut your computer off. It's gonna be here tomorrow, and it's okay to go. Go for the evening, go have fun, or just go unwind, and that's it. It's okay. It will be here tomorrow. Trust me.
Irving, to conclude our conversation, is there anything that you wish we would discuss during the episode? Uh, any questions that you wish I would have asked, you don't have the opportunity to respond?
Adrian, you're great. I honestly, I just encourage everybody to whatever position you play or whoever your company you're with, just truly outmost, we are a family. It's multi-family for a reason. Take care of each other. Like we just recently, I don't know, I think you're in Florida, right? Hurricane Ian that just happened. I've seen a lot of back and forth with like in the apartment management group on Facebook saying, hey, does anybody have, units or can you do things for this? So I think at the end of the day, we all are in this together. And it takes us to be advocates for our associates, advocates for our companies, and generally and utmost be an advocate for our industry. And that's how we're going to continue to have a thriving industry.
Irving, if someone watching the watching this podcast wants to contact you, what are the best ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a LinkedIn message. I have my direct email on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, I can any moment. I think LinkedIn is the best. Irving Lopez Gallarza. Just find me, and believe it or not, I've had people reach out to me that were in loops of taking new jobs, and they wanted to just somebody have a resume, have me look at their resume and such forth. So honestly, I'm always open to helping anybody, even if I don't know you. Just pick my brain, and I will try to give you the best advice that I can. And if you know what, and if I can't give it to you, I will find somebody that will give it to you. Um, we're all here to help, and I think that to me, that's the biggest thing that anybody can get out of me and that knows me. I'm just here to make things better. I'm here to help you. You know, I think that's all I can do.
Irving, thank you very much for coming on, for accepting to come as a guest. I appreciate it. I really enjoy our conversation.
Of
I
course.
hope to have a room for episode for take two, for another episode down the
Yes.
road. I
Yes.
will be watching and cheering for you, looking
Thank
at
you.
you, um, doing great things in the industry and with
Thank
your
you.
podcast as well.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm actually going to be applying for the NAA Diversity and Inclusion committee, our leadership kind of team. So I'm excited to be hopefully get picked and kind of serve at that national level, as an advocate. So I'm excited for that. So stay tuned.
Uh, Thank you again for coming. Everybody, thank you for watching us today. This is Multifamily Chronicles. I'm your host, Adrian Danila, episode number 37. Uh, have a great day, and I hope to see you back here soon.